and welcome to Halifax Oasis. I'm excited to present to you tonight's celebration of the Halifax County Democratic Party, celebrating their wins for this election cycle. We'll hear some speakers, maybe talk to a few people. Come along.
You guys wouldn't mind. Earlier this year, if you don't know Dr. Murray, ran for Street 49. So he put on an amazing campaign. I think him and his team are proud. I know Dr. Murray learned so much about you. He was active in our committee meetings. He called into many of them. He showed up to many of them. He came to a lot of South Boston community events. It was really nice seeing somebody who was engaged with this community, because these communities, especially the rural ones, can get left out. So, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I just came to not give a speech, just to thank everybody for all your help. You all did a great job, and we almost pulled it off so close. And this is a very Republican district. A lot of people still at the end of the day just thought hard about it. I actually can't give vote. But anyway, that's another issue. But I want to thank all the support we got, and with Walton and Henry, our youth corps helped immensely. They don't be here today. Josh, campaign manager, I heard you called about an hour ago. I was supposed to ride with him, and he called me and he said, I'm sick and I can't come. And he said, I got to go to the bathroom again. So I don't know what he's got, but I'm glad I didn't ride with him. But again, just bottom of the day, thank you all for it. I've got some beautiful people here in Halifax. And this treasure, talking with them. I love to sit and chat with people. And just some great memories, and we had a lot of fun. So I want to thank you again for what you all did. Give you all a hand.
Maybe give it another 10 minutes or so, and then if you guys want to speak. Sounds good? Okay, so we're around 4 o'clock. Just give a couple of minutes.
Sure.
Thanks. Sorry to interrupt twice.
Okay. All right, I'm Madison, and I am the campaign manager for Mike Pruitt, who is a Navy veteran, civil rights lawyer, and county supervisor in Albemarle County, running to flip the 5th District. Yeah.
How did you become a campaign manager?
Mike wanted someone with experience working in tough, hard-to-win rural areas, and I have that. So
Tell me about that experience.
working in tough areas.
Or just being a campaign manager. I don't think I've ever met one before.
Yeah, no. Working for a candidate like Mike is really, really special. I think he is really, really exciting. He really comes from a background that resonates with people in this district and resonates with folks like in the districts that I've worked in the past who feel forgotten and left behind by current politics. He's a son of Appalachia, son of the country, and his roots in that community I think really translate to the stuff that he cares about and the way that he's able to communicate with others.
Okay, I'm going to talk to him, but I want to hear more about you. Do you take a degree for campaign managing in college or what? How do you get in this?
I studied public policy in college.
Okay.
And I started working on campaigns because I grew up all my life playing team sports, and campaigns are like a team sport. And I like getting to work towards a common goal with a team of people I really care about for something that I believe
Is this a volunteer position?
I'm paid.
Okay. What other candidates or campaigns have you worked for?
I worked for John Tester in Montana and Susan Wild in Pennsylvania.
Are you from Virginia?
Not originally, no. I live here now, but I grew up on the West Coast.
Okay, that's interesting. So you can campaign manage anywhere in the country?
If you're willing to work hard enough, I think so.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm just trying to imagine, all right, let's say his election's over and you're not working for him anymore. Then what do? Do you go on Indeed.com and say job for campaign manager and find somebody you like?
Kind of, or I have, I've worked with some talented staffers in the past, and they might know a candidate who needs a manager, and this is a good fit.
So it's a lot of networking.
Yes.
All right, do you want to talk about your own personal politics?
I mean, I can. I don't know how much that they matter. I mean, obviously, I'm a Democrat. I worked for Democrats.
Tell me two most important issues you see in our country today.
I think economic inequality is the number one, and then I think healthcare and all of its cascading effects.
Explain economic qualities, because a lot of people throw words around but don't understand what you're talking about.
When I'm talking about economic inequality, I'm talking about the gulf between the haves and the have-nots in the country has just widened and widened and widened, and I think as someone in my 20s, like I think that's incredibly valuable in the sense of market opportunity. A lot of peers like don't ever know if they'll be able to own a house. And I think like the promise of the American dream is diminishing. It's not gone, but it's much less than it used to be. And I think we need to return to a place where if you work hard and you're a good person, you can provide for the people that you love and yourself.
So you would be for things like increased minimum wage, unions maybe?
Definitely, I've worked like with strong union campaigns. Definitely, I think minimum wage is tricky in terms of its effects on small businesses too, and like large corporations can easily afford to pay their employees minimum wage, but if you are working on a shoestring budget, I think that becomes much trickier. So I think like that's obviously I'm not an economist. I like politics. I like people. I like talking to people, and so like I know what I hear talking from people. If you're on the factory floor and you can't just work that one job, like that's not fair, right? But I think also if you are a small business owner and all of a sudden you can't afford to pay your employees, and then you're forced to make tricky decisions, that's also not fair.
So maybe workforce training would be a huge piece to that too.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So are you an advocate of, you mentioned healthcare as a second one, are you an advocate of healthcare for all?
Again, like I'm a people person. My job has been to go out and talk to people and hear about what they care about, and it looks different, and so I think I have like a different perspective there, I think.
Share it with me.
Healthcare is really complicated. And I think it's really expensive, and people living paycheck to paycheck without insurance is like it's a dangerous situation to be in, and people are forced to choose between insurance and putting food on the table. Again, it's unfair. Now, what is the best macroeconomic solution to that? I honestly don't know. But I know the problems that people are facing, and I know that John McGuire, the incumbent congressman here, voted to raise healthcare premiums, and the one big beautiful bill, healthcare provisions, is going to have shuddering effects on rural healthcare here in Southern Virginia.
It's already showing.
Yeah.
Already showing.
And like OBGYN clinic is closing.
Here in Halifax County and also Mecklenburg County, they've lost one of their OBGYNs at their hospitals. And the thing that a lot of people don't understand is that's one of many facets that makes the county not attractive to economic development and businesses coming in. Because who wants to move somewhere they can't even have babies?
Yeah, exactly.
So
we need to reinvest in our rural communities, and if you don't have a hospital, it's pretty hard.
Right.
Well, I have to go back to
And I was going to let you go, but I want to say one more thing. I am so proud of you as a young person to be listening back. It was wonderful to see you.
Thank you very much. And I'm proud of everybody in this room who's showing up and doing the work of meeting voters where they're at, and doing better for ourselves and our neighbors. Yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, well, we'll start here. You can start with me. Okay, yeah, you get that C last time. I just got that here. Oh, yeah, there you go. Michael, I think you're the only person that I had a chance to say hello to and this whole group. So, hi.
Everybody say your names real loud when you get up.
We do? Sure, we'll make it easy, and I'm not going to talk for a long time, but hi, I'm Kate Zabriskie. I'm based in Lynchburg, and I'm the lucky one who gets to go first since my name starts with Z. I'm happy to be running to unseat John McGuire. One thing that I'm very happy to say is that there are two other people who are here today with the same goal in mind. His level of service to me is unacceptable. And that was a big piece of what motivated me, was looking that this is not what constituent service is supposed to look like. I know some of you call him every day,
just to check in and to see how everything is with him. In my private life, what I do, I run a corporate training company. Been doing this now for a little over 25 years, and we work with everybody under the sun. So sometimes it's a big pharmaceutical company, sometimes it's a Google, a Meta. You pick it, we probably touch that industry in some way. A big piece of the work that we do is customer service strategy. So looking at what are we getting now, what are we supposed to be getting, and really looking at the way that that office runs and how should it be running. So that was a component where I thought I had some skills that could add value here in the district and for the people who live here. Now, you can't do the whole thing on customer service if you're not having any legislative priorities, and I always like to say that, we live in the 5th, so fight for the 5th makes a lot of sense. Thank goodness we don't live in the 10th. It doubles the workload, for sure. Things that matter to me, infrastructure, number one, for people who are rural who still don't have internet. Who still don't have internet, though. We're ahead of the game as a state as far as internet goes compared to other places, but somebody really still needs to be watching the store to make sure that internet gets delivered. For our people that are like, what are you talking about? I've had internet for the last 25 years, even when it was dial-up, I've got that. If you're that person, okay, what a lot of those people want is, could you please get me to the city and do it with me not having to be in my car, and I'd like to be in that city prior to lunchtime. And right now, the train that goes to Washington gets you there at 11:30. You've just got enough time to walk in and say hello to somebody, turn around, and get right back on that train. So you come home. So expanding rail service to take people up the road. That's priority number one. I've got another one around healthcare access, some work around fortifying farming and small business. Number 4, job training for skills people actually want to pay for. That's something that is near and dear to me that I'm watching with some seriousness of, okay, what is AI going to be doing? What is AI not going to be doing? What's going to be a job that's actually going to be a job in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, and what do those skills need to be, and let's train for those. Because I don't think just raising the wage and raising the wage and raising the wage for low skill employment is going to be the answer. We need to upskill people. And then the 5th one focuses around energy, which is fortifying the energy industry that is already here, and then looking to solve other energy problems, because that problem is getting worse every day. Look at your electric bill and just see how that goes. So those are the 5 priorities. They're very vanilla. They're middle of the road. You may be listening and say, well, those don't have passion. Yeah, they're in my little phrase, she's boring and I like that. This is the boring, serious work that most people want done for their community. So that's a little bit about me. I have cards for those of you who haven't given one to. I will certainly hand it out. And where are we going next in names? Are we going to go to P's or are we going to K's?
We're good.
Ladies first. All right, Dr. K.
I will say I was astounded to learn that the AI data centers are taking currently 25% of all the energy, of all the electricity in Virginia, projected to be 50% of all the electricity in Virginia by 2030.
It's crazy.
Like, it's right on the corner. So I haven't met you yet. I think I've said hi to everybody else, but hey, glad to meet you. I'm Suzanne Krzyzanowski, and I'm a family doctor in Lynchburg. I live in Bedford, but I'm in Lynchburg almost all the time. And you'll see my little thing say Dr. K for Congress, because nobody can say my last name. So, and I, Katie and I were talking about this earlier. This is a really hard part. Like, I have plenty to say in rebuttal to what's going on with Mr. McGuire, who's basically doing whatever Trump wants, right? He doesn't appear to have his own agenda for the 5th District at all. But it's really hard thinking what I want to say, because I've met these guys a couple times already, either in person or in Zoom, and like we basically agree on most things, and they're like really cool people, and so this is really difficult. So what do I have to say? Well, as I think about it, so I'm a doctor, and healthcare is what I know. And healthcare, as you all know, is a huge problem in the United States now, and it's going to get much worse. the big beautiful bill, quote unquote, the big bad bill, is affecting Medicaid. It's already affecting the prices on the exchange. Everybody's going to see things go up. Not just people on Medicaid are going to be in trouble. It's rippling through the whole system. Already out in Augusta County, they're shutting down clinics they know they can't maintain. Centra is stressed. They're closing the OB unit in Farmville. And at our office, I can't tell you the amount of patients I have that, I mean, I'm running because I see people, I'm trying to fight every day for them and it's failing. I can't, no matter how much paperwork I do, no matter how many petitions go through, so many people can't get the medical care they need. Medicare Part B is going to go up over $200 a month out of people's Social Security checks for the first time. That is huge for a large number of people who are barely getting by. There are people who are, in their late 70s, 80s, working as greeters at Walmart because they can't afford to live on what they've got because people don't have pensions anymore. They don't, and so that $200 that comes out for that, plus medications, and people just can't afford it. We have people in the hospital who they're in the hospital and they're refusing tests. In the hospital, they say, we need to check your heart. How much will that echocardiogram cost? Because I have a share of cost and I can't afford it. That's people who worked all their lives. Other countries have a normal healthcare system, and we need a universal healthcare system. And there's many possible ways we can do this so that people aren't taking advantage. My father escaped a communist country. I hated when people are like, oh, socialize. I'm like, in the old days, you could bake me a chicken and I gave you your penicillin shot. Now you want your MRI. You don't have enough chickens to pay for that MRI. That we have to spread, that cost of that machine, of that technology, is by necessity spread out among all of us here. And we are a country, the other statistic I read recently, for an employer, employee-sponsored healthcare, for a family of 4, the average cost now is $27,000 a year, okay? Of which the employee is paying $9,000 and the employer is paying $18,000. That's just the premiums. That's not counting deductibles, co-pays, co-insurance, any of that. That's a huge drag on the business as well. So maybe it's pie in the sky. I was saying I sent out Joan of Arc to all my friends when I decided I was going to run the day, after the election and Trump won. Maybe it's really Don Quixote, Sometimes I'm like, am I going to be jousting at windmills? But we have to try, all right? And I do think this is a message that will appeal to people throughout our district. I didn't tell you I was in Wells Fargo setting up my account. The banker started telling me she has one loan and her insurance won't let her go see her specialist at VCU. The other banker turned around and started talking. Then a lady who was sitting waiting to talk to bankers started telling her medical problems. And whether people are Republican or Democrat or independent, they know this is a huge problem. So that is why I'm running. I agree, we have obviously many other issues that are of concern to all of us. You're going to hear me most talking about healthcare. And whichever one of us, and there's a few other people running, wins this, I will be coming to you, okay, if it's you or you, and I'm going to tell you my 5 possible plans that I've thought up for universal healthcare and when the pros and cons would be each of them, and recruit you to also be, an advocate for getting us a real healthcare system. Okay, I'll shut up now because I could go on for a long time.
Thank you all so much. I hope you all don't mind, we're a cozy group. I might just face it. I think I project this fine. Sometimes, and please tell me, give me a sign if I'm doing this. Sometimes I try and be, how men are, right? Men love to talk over you. And I'm so conscious of this. Sometimes in a small group setting, I actually talk quieter than I think I ought to. So if I'm not speaking and you can't hear me, please let me know. But thank you all so much for having me. Thank you for the really rousing on universal health care. 100%. I love the passion. And I want to just begin by kind of, this is most of y'all's first time that you're meeting me. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about myself, why I'm running in this race, and then very briefly, kind of what I want to hope to accomplish. So my name's Mike Pruitt. I grew up, I didn't come from here. I grew up in the Appalachian tip of South Carolina, south of here, in former textile country. I grew up in what used to be a textile mill town. And by the time I was born, that industry didn't exist anymore. Town still is there, but I knew real quick in my life that as much as I might have loved my hometown, as much as I loved where I came from, that there wasn't an economic opportunity for me. If I wanted a future for myself, I was going to have to move. And that's what I did. I went to college on an ROTC scholarship in the military, which involved me, frankly, having to go back in the closet. Right? This was back during Don't Ask, Don't Tell. I'm married to a man these days, and I had to go back in the closet just to be able to serve. But I did. Spent 8 years in the U.S. Navy, did 2 deployments to combat zones, came home, worked Ops and Naval Intelligence, and said to myself, boy, howdy, Mike, I really love work I'm doing. It's meaningful. I love being able to serve my country. But I really hate Uncle Sam telling me where I have to live every 2 years. I would really like to be able to pick where I get to live, to actually build some roots somewhere. And I was like, okay, well, that means I have to have a new career. I can't be a civilian military officer. And so I thought back over what I felt a calling to. I remembered in my first year of service, the first apartment I had ever rented, when I was on deployment, they tried to sue me for 3 months of rent that I wasn't living there for. They actually served me legal process by a helicopter that landed on my ship on deployment. And then every place I've lived since then, right? The Navy kept moving me to these big industrial cities. Finally, Washington, D.C. Every single one of these communities, you walk from one side of the street to the other. And the scars of residential segregation in those communities were so stark. You go from one side of the street to the other, and quality of infrastructure investment changes, quality of the housing changes, and at that same moment is when the color of the face on the street changed. And I realized how, goosebumps right now, how much this animated me, how much I felt a calling to this work around housing justice, housing affordability, housing discrimination. I said, well, damn it, that means I've got to be a lawyer. That's the job that does that. So I applied to law school, applied all over the country. And in that context, I visited Albemarle County, where I live now, looking at the law school. And the law school was a good law school, but I could take it or leave it. I got to a lot of good law schools. What I connected with was the place. Right? I saw Albemarle County, and I saw a place that reminded me so much, culturally, geographically, of the place I'd come from. Reminded me of, living in the Appalachian Mountains as a kid. But I also saw a place that I had economic opportunity, a place I could build a career after law school, a place I could save. And I also saw a place, frankly, that I felt like I could feel safe raising a family as a man married to a man. And that's what I did, right? I met an incredible man, a priest, an Episcopal priest who works down in Fredericksburg. We got married, we had our own family. I got really involved in my local community, and I found myself running for local office and winning. Done a lot of things I'm really proud of on the Albemarle County Board. We've got 99.9% of Albemarle County actually has broadband access now from some investments we've made over the last few years. I've made some of the biggest investments in housing affordability we've ever made. And we recently significantly expanded cell phone coverage in the rural parts of my district. Work I'm really proud of. And, I'm a lawyer, and I'm a civil rights lawyer. I get to sue racists for a living. It's hard to think of doing more satisfying work than suing racists for a living. 15-year-old Mike Pruitt, looking at me now, would say, damn, Mike, you made it, right? You got everything that you might have wanted. And I think that in a lot of ways is true, right? And it took me a little bit of hard work. It took me a little bit of grit. It also took me a whole lot of luck, right? I've been very lucky, blessed in my life. And I know not everyone is that lucky, and not everyone is that blessed. And 5th District, as I've traveled it, in my role as a member of the Board of Supervisors for a big county, we got to talk to the whole 5th District. As I look at the rest of the 5th District, I see a place that looks a lot more like where I came from than where I am now. It is a place where industry has moved on, and people are still there. It reminds me of being back in my textile mill hometown. And when I talk to people across the village, when I talk to people, remind me of the folks I grew up with, what I hear is the same thing I heard as a kid. It's anger, right? Working class people, rural communities are angry more than almost anything else. They might have a different diagnosis of the problem, a different explanation for why their life is the way it is, but what they know is at the end of the day, there's a boot on the back of their neck. Something's keeping them down. They know that their wages have gone up a decade. Maybe their taxes have, but their wages haven't gone up in a decade. They know the Rite Aid down the street is about to close, and the nearest place they might be able to get their prescription filled is over an hour away. They know the OBGYN practice in Farmville is closing, and they're going to have to either deliver their babies at home now, or they're going to have to drive over an hour to Lynchburg, because that's the nearest place they can get delivery services.
460.
Yeah. They
460 roadside.
They know that the plot of land that they have next door, that their son or daughter is always going to build their house on, they can't afford to anymore. They know that when they get that bill in the mail from their utility company, or their gas company, or their cell company, it's got like a $30 extra fee saying across this district. And I think that connects with people from all walks of life. And I think we find ourselves in a moment of crisis, right? And maybe controversial for a room full of Democrats. I think that crisis would be here even if Donald Trump was not in the White House, even if Donald Trump wasn't ever born. I think we're at a turning point in our history. Right now, we have a larger gap between the rich and the poor, more concentration of corporate power than we have seen in over 100 years. There is not a person alive in Virginia 5 who has seen the level of inequality, economic inequality we have in this moment. That's a crisis, right? That is the blinking red emergency light on our dashboard. And I think Congress needs to treat it like a crisis. And I don't think they are. And I certainly don't think our congressman is treating it like a crisis, right? John McGuire, I don't know that he treats anything like a crisis. I expected...
Voted for it.
He voted for it. The one thing I thought we'd get with a congressman, right? He's a Navy SEAL. It's the only thing we know about him. You know how you know a Navy SEAL? You know how you know a Navy SEAL? It's the first thing I tell you about themselves. It's the first thing they tell you about themselves. The one thing I thought I'd get with Navy SEAL is some courage, right? You thought you'd get some courage. And I'm sure he's good in a firefight, right? That's what we paid him for. But he does not show a lick of moral courage. He does not legislate like a man of courage. What he does is he looks in your face. He tells you what you want to hear. He looks in your face and he says, I'm not threatening healthcare. I'm not going to take Medicaid. And then he turns around and votes to cut $1 trillion from Medicaid. He looks you in your face down here in the southern part of this district. He looks you in your face and he says, oh, I am not interested in threatening Virginia's uranium mining moratorium. Coles Hill is safe. And then the second bill he brings gives Trump an extra tool to mine Coles Hill and threaten this community's water. He looks you in your face. He doesn't look you in your face, right? He tells you on a telephone town hall. He tells you on a telephone town hall. His favorite thing to tell people. He loves you. He says, I count at least 4 I love yous every town hall. He loves to tell people that he loves them. And, I'm not an expert. I'm not a marriage therapist, but I am a married man. I think I know a little bit about love. I don't think you get to tell someone that you love them when you are threatening their parents' retirement, when you are kicking their spouse off their federal job, when you are taking food off the tables of their children in school. That is what he's voting. So I want a man who's going to cowboy up, a congressman who will actually tell you what he believes. John McGuire, he believes that, yes, there are people who deserve health care, and there are other people he thinks that deserve to die from treatable diseases. There are communities I'm sure he thinks deserve clean water, but it ain't this one. He thinks y'all deserve a radioactive pay. There are people I'm sure John McGuire loves. He's married, he's got a family, they seem to all love him like a lot. There are other people that John McGuire wants to see disappear. But this isn't John McGuire's stump speech, this is my stump speech. Things I believe. I believe in an economy that works for working people. I believe in a Congress that can stand up to the corporate powers that want to take every part of your life, every hobby, every interest, and quantify that into a number and figure out how to turn that into a dollar. I think we can stand up to that in Congress. I believe in investing in rural communities. I believe in investing in education and workforce. I believe in clean air and clean water. And I believe fundamentally that we can build a more just America. And I think we can do that. I think we can plant the seeds for that here in Virginia. That's all I have.
I do want to say, I've lived here for about 25 years. And, we've had Tom Perriell for 2 years, and that's it. He's been it the whole time I've been here, and everything seems so crazy right now with what's going on in Washington that it's like the Democrats should win everything, right? But we cannot take that for granted at all, because actually we didn't get anyone in Trump won. We still stayed Republican all through Trump won, including at the midterm. And we have to win this. And any idea, you guys are obviously the dedicated people, right? Here you are at this meeting. Any ideas you guys have for us, okay? I'm sure you have a website, or Facebook, whatever, I have a website. If you guys have any ideas, what you think resonates with your neighbors who have Farmers for Trump signs in their front yard, like my neighbor does, okay? Anything you think will resonate with people, share that with us. Please share your ideas with us, because we have to reach out beyond the people who already know all this stuff that makes us all crazy, right? So consider that. Your ideas are valuable.
I am very impressed with your, all of y'all's knowledge and thought and enthusiasm. It's a great and I wish I knew something to inform to the people who's there and voted in public experience.
Yeah.
Sure, and so mine tends to run on the nonprofit side and also on the for-profit side. I sat on the community bank board for a little over 10 years, been on a community foundation board, community foundation, leadership is a group in Maryland, is a leadership Southern Maryland board, and so very invested in community, and then on the fun side, garden club. So, president of the garden club and been down that road. And then the National Society of Colonial Days in America, I'm super involved with that group at the state level and the national level. So in terms of governance, most of it will run through nonprofit for me. And then on the work side, a ton of work with government groups.
Politician. I have never held any political office. I hope that people who aren't politicians actually can become representatives. Most of what I do in leadership roles has been, I'm on the medical executive committee at Centra, at the hospital, in Congressional, and also a nonprofit free clinic boards I've served on in Bedford and also over at the free clinic in
When it comes to the healthcare issue, to me it's a moral issue as well. I mean, it's just wrong the things that are happening because people are going to die.
People are dying.
Yeah.
People are dying. What's really sad that I've started seeing is people are taking their own lives.
Yeah.
Because they're so desperate.
And then people of an age like I am, I feel that it's going to affect us even more. They're all people, it's going to affect everybody, young, old, whoever. It's going to affect all. But it's just wrong what's going on, what's happening. It's just wrong.
I should mention that there's been early data from the rural hospitals are the ones that are most immediately affected with solvency issues with under Medicaid. Community Health South Hill is actually the one that is most likely to become insolvent in this district.
South Hill?
Yes, ma'am. Your hospital here is the one that is likely to close because of NICU. Central Farmville, they're hanging on by a thread, but they're likely going to stay solvent with OBGYN practice closed. The one over in Mecklenburg is going to likely be able to stay sold. South Hill has the worst financials, and they are not projecting that they can stay open unless we reuse Medicaid funding at a high level.
All right, but here in South Boston, we're okay.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I mixed up myself. Yes, yes. South Hill is the one that's closing, not South Boston. Yes, ma'am. But it's still quite close.
No, it is a moral issue, 100%. I mean, in some ways, all of these are moral issues, right? When people suffer and die because of this.
And especially, we're supposed to that's it. We have the biggest economy in the world still. We could do it. If Canada can do it, and Japan can do it, and France can do it, and Norway can do it, and all these other places can do it, we can do it too. Absolutely 100%. So.
I think that's something that, at least for me being a Democrat, has been the hardest thing to stomach from the other side is you don't deserve what I have, or you don't deserve as good as I have. You should have worked harder. You should have done this. You should have done that, and then you would be where I am. And then the Democrats will say that we're evil and we're violent, and I'm like, I see loving people. Like, I feel like my party loves people, and changing that rhetoric is, I think, really important. And I think it might make people a little softer, and to kind of realize that you're literally picking and choosing who gets to live, and you're really okay with that. But if you had to sign that document, would you be okay telling Marianne Smith that she's not good enough to get health care and that she should die?
Can I actually say something in response to this? Because this is a very intimate story, so apologies for getting really vulnerable on it. I used to be more conservative than I am. As a young man, right? I grew up in the South, surprised by it. And when I was young, my family has a lot of problems, right? My brother has had Hep C his whole life from intravenous drug use and cirrhosis, and ultimately died. And as a young man, he wasn't employed for most of his life, lived off his food. As a young man, I was an addict. I spent most of my time not feeling sympathy or pity for him. I felt angry at him. I was like, we came from the same blood stock. I got my life together, why don't you? Right? And I had such a hard time feeling that sympathy that you're talking about Democrats feeling. And I think an important line that changed for me is, I served in the Navy, and while I was in the Navy, I was diagnosed with alcoholism. I've been sober for almost 10 years, come August. And I had socialized health care. I had a place that I could go to for an inpatient rehab at a Navy hospital. I sat down with a licensed clinician, and I had a supporting crew around me to help build me back up. And I looked at that, and I looked at my brother who died the day I started rehab. Like, look at God, right? And I was like, this are identical experiences, and I had the luck and the good fortune to be able-bodied and to have been able to have the opportunity to serve in the military and have the benefits, the healthcare benefits of that. And that is the thing that made me not die penniless from pneumonia, from a treatable disease. And that stays with me, and that we have all these different moments in our lives that radicalize us. Right? That is what radicalizes us. Like just like walking down the street, going across the Anacostia River in DC, radicalized me on racial justice and economic justice. That's the thing that radicalizes me.
It's huge. My husband has some mental health issues, and he's had to go to inpatient care to find the right combination of medicines. It's $39,000 a week for him to be there.
That's like not comprehensible. Okay, it's what does that mean anymore?
And
right?
thank goodness I work for a company insurance, but if we weren't together.
I know, who knows who is paying what? That number is a fake number.
To get the mental health care that he needs. I mean, the medications for mental health are very sensitive, so he had some kidney issues and some liver issues when he went on medicine. But he's gone 4 different times. And I'm just like, if we didn't have that health insurance, who knows where he would be right now. But there are, I guarantee we, with our health insurance, we're the minority. We're lucky. And I try never to take that for granted. So when I see people who look down on people who don't have as much, it's just, I can find very, very, very poor family. I mean, when we were the Angel Christmas Tree kids, families would deliver us food sometimes, and I got lucky in my career. I didn't even have a bachelor's degree. I'm the only one in the whole company that doesn't have a bachelor's degree. I worked hard. I'm not running for anything here, but I just wanted, my point is just that, sometimes people have opportunities that other people don't, and it could have very easily been me or my husband on the other side of that, and he knows where we've been. It's really hard to see people who look down on it. Well, my daughter lives in Charlotte, and I don't know if you guys saw the Pineville video. That's my daughter's girlfriend. She was there that day, and she had to watch that happen, and her husband's Mexican, his family is and people just to be like, oh, they're legal. It's the equivalent of a child is speeding. You know what I mean? It's not like they're breaking some giant law. They came here to help their families.
But if you call McGuire's office, they will debate you.
Oh yeah.
That
It's
those
human
cameras-
beings.
Exactly.
Every human being is priceless.
Thank God I didn't have to get on the phone and try to bring my family here just so that they could survive, or try to cross a border and save up money for years and years just so my kids could live in a safe place. I mean, thank God that's not us. So how dare you look at them like that? So, sorry, maybe I just needed to know a little bit.
Oh, yeah, so he used to, he had been at St. George's in downtown Fredericksburg.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, wonderful, yeah, he did the associate rector there. He just left when we got married, right? Because we did not cohabitate before marriage. We just came up on our first wedding anniversary, so in August, we had our wedding was on August 31st, and that was the day he stopped working, and he moved here, and he was a little uncertain because we had a lot of churches in Albemarle County, because the planter class, they all established their churches, but we don't have a lot of congregations. There's a lot of churches that can't afford a priest.
We can. We're looking.
He works for the diocese. He works for the Episcopal diocese. He actually
Virginia.
Yes, ma'am. He plays matchmaker between churches and priests. It's fun.
Our interim priest is coming from Richmond.
Ooh. He's probably working. He's got his hands in all the walls. It's honestly very. I appreciate